गुड इवनिंग। आप सबका एक बार फिर से स्वागत है। आज 5:30 बजे इंग्लिश में क्लास शुरू की गई थी केस स्टडी की, पर बीच में पावर इंटरप्शन के कारण, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी इंटरप्शन के कारण क्लास रुक गई अनफॉर्चुनेटली, और हमें खेद है कि आपको इसके कारण परेशानी हुई है। तो फिर से उस क्लास को लेकर आपके सामने प्रस्तुत हैं। आज दिस इज़ द फर्स्ट क्लास ऑफ इंग्लिश मीडियम केस स्टडी आंसर राइटिंग इम्प्रूवमेंट प्रोग्राम by Nishchay IAS. Till now, Yaswant sir is taking answer writing improvement program in Hindi medium at 7 p.m. on YouTube. So now, this answer writing improvement program will take place daily on our YouTube channel. In English medium also, I will take the class. And today evening at 5:30 p.m., it was the first class, but due to power interruption, the live streaming, it got interrupted. And again, the video has to be made. So that video has been deleted. The previous video has been deleted. And now let's again have a relook of the case study which I was discussing at 5:30 p.m. And 2 questions were remaining to be discussed. So let us now have a fresh restart of this case study and let's see the different questions. So first of all, what the case study is all about. Let us read the case study. I have written it down for you. And I would request you to enhance your screen and read the case study, study it. What are the different ethical aspects of the case study? First of all, try to understand the scenario or the situation put forward. So let me read that out for you. It will be easier for you also to understand it. Poor quality infrastructure projects like roads, highways, bridges are a constant threat to the public. They can potentially cause large-scale damages to lives and property. Faulty project reports, low-quality design, and construction stemming from inefficiency and corruption are some of the major factors. Okay? As I read, you try to understand what the case study is about. These defects basically emerge from lack of public service values in the officials involved in such projects. So, the case says that some of the major factors are faulty project reports, low quality design and construction, which stems from corruption and inefficiency. At the same time, it says that these defects basically emerge from lack of public service values in the officials who are involved in such projects. Coming to the next paragraph of the case study, a public sector road infrastructure construction company, through a recent circular, has taken a serious view towards the dereliction of duty by its representatives involved in the process of issuance of the provisional completion certificate. Okay? A public sector company, it has, through a recent circular, taken a serious view that some of its officials involved in the infrastructure projects are issuing provisional completion certificate, and dereliction of duty is involved in issuance of such certificates. Okay? Now, such dereliction jeopardizes the safety of road users in utter disregard of policy guidelines, and provisions of the contract agreement. Okay? Such dereliction of duty is in utter disregard of the policy guidelines, and it also violates provision of the contract agreement. Now, the public sector company has decided to hold officials liable for any fatal or serious accidents. Okay? In case of any future accident or fatality related to such infrastructure projects, the public sector company has decided that it will hold its officials liable for such accidents in future, and it has come to company's notice that provisional completion certificates are being issued keeping safety works such as road marking, road signage, crash barriers in the punch list. So there is a punch list, and in the process of issuing provisional completion certificates, the officials involved are keeping safety works such as road marking, road signage, crash barriers in the punch list. And what is a punch list? Punch list is, the definition of punch list is also provided in the case study. So usually the pending items are put under a category called a punch list. The pending items or minor works which are yet to be completed related to the infrastructure projects. So such minor pending works are kept in a separate punch list. But here in this case, what officials involved are doing, they are putting important safety works which have to be essentially completed, they are putting such important safety works also in the category of punch list. Whereas the punch list comprises of such items which are of minor nature, such works which are minor works, and as the case study further states that only minor work that is incomplete and are not likely to cause material inconvenience to the users or affect their safety is included in the punch list. Only those items, only those remaining works are included in the punch list which does not cause any material inconvenience or significant inconvenience to the road users, or they do not put the user safety at stake. They do not threaten user safety. And the case study states that such works have to be completed within 30 days. So they are minor works and they don't cause significant inconvenience to the road users. Hence, they are put in a separate punch list, and even such minor works are pending. Provisional completion certificate can be issued. But here in this case, provisional completion certificate is being issued despite major safety works are not completed. And such major works are put in a punch list. Punch list is only for minor remaining works, but the officials involved are putting major safety works also in the pending punch list. Okay? Now, such works have to be completed within 30 days, but keeping important safety works in punch list not only compromises safety of road users. If you put major works as pending and then you issue provisional completion certificate for the infrastructure project and you open it to the public, what will it cause? It will cause major hazard for the road users, because the safety works are yet to be completed. The safety works are not completed yet. So, keeping important safety works in punch list or the pending list not only compromises safety of road users but also bring bad name to the company in case of any future accident. If due to poor quality of engineering work, poor quality of design, any mishap occurs in future, any fatality or accident happens in future, it, apart from causing loss of life and property, it will also bring a bad name to the company. Okay? It will also bring a bad name to the organization or the company which has built that infrastructure. Fine? Now, it is important that road safety works are complete in all respect prior to issuing provisional certificate. So now the case study says that before issuing provisional certificate, it is essential that all sort of safety works are completed. Only then provisional certificate can be issued and the infrastructure project can be opened to the public. Okay? Now, involved officials should essentially be held liable for any fatal serious accidents that occur as a result of poor work. It further says that officials which are involved in such projects, they must be held liable in case of any serious accident which happens in future. So this is essentially case study based on a recent circular issued by National Highways Authority of India, NHAI, which stated that poor quality infrastructure projects and official involved in such projects must be held liable for any mishap which happens in future and causes loss of lives and property. Recently we have seen that infrastructure safety has come to prominence by some events. Recently there was a bridge collapse in Morbi district of Gujarat. So it brought into center stage the question of safety of public infrastructure. Public infrastructure safety, why? Because private and public companies, they construct infrastructure projects on a large scale. And in the recent case of the bridge collapse in Morbi in Gujarat, it was observed that the private company did not done the safety works while conducting the renovation process in a proper manner. And due to incomplete safety works during renovation, it was open to the public and it caused a major accident leading to deaths of hundreds of people. At the same time, caused loss of public property. Now, it is also related to road safety. Poor quality design of roads, it leads to road accidents and it causes death. Recently, we saw the death of a very famous former chairman of Tata Sons. Okay? We saw the death of Mr. Mistry, who was the chairperson, who was the former chairperson of Tata Sons. So it was also attributed to poor quality road design. The vehicle accident, a major factor was considered that the road design quality was poor, due to which the vehicle went through an accident. So we see that road safety, importance of the safety of public infrastructure projects, these are all very important issues and must be seen from an ethical perspective also, because public and private sector companies, they build such infrastructure projects, they are corporate entities, and such corporate entities must observe standards of corporate governance Standards of corporate sustainability. What do we mean by corporate governance? That governance principles should be followed in corporate business and practices also. Good governance practices should be followed by corporate entities also. Okay? And corporate sustainability. The concept of corporate sustainability was brought by UN Global Compact. UN Global Compact was launched in which year? UN Global Compact was launched in 2000, which brought together firms and businesses across the world so that good business practices, sustainable business practices can be adopted and a sustainable infrastructure can be built. So UN Global Compact can be referred to in this regard for corporate sustainability and corporate good governance. Okay. Second thing is that, first thing that it is an issue of corporate governance. Second thing is that it also involves ethical issues like corruption. It also involves ethical issues like lack of public service values in the officials, in the public servant. Okay. Now, as we have read the case study and we have understand the situation. So let us see what it is asking. Let us now come to the questions. I hope that you all have noted down. Thank you, Sumit. Good evening. Chandan, all of you most welcome to the class. Actually, the class was interrupted due to power disruption and again it has restarted. So I hope that you have noted down the case study. You kindly note down the case study. Now I am writing questions. So please note down the question. Now let us come to the questions. As we have seen that there is a growing trend in UPSC examination in paper 4. If you see GS4 paper in 2019, 20 or 21 or in fact this year 22, there is a growing trend that more number of questions are being asked from the same case study. Earlier you can see three questions from a case study, but nowadays more 4 and 5 questions are being asked from the same case study. Based on the same trend, we have also made 4 questions based on this case study and I request you to kindly note it down. First question is, what ethical deficiencies do you think? What ethical deficiencies means ethical lackings or ethical inadequacies. What ethical deficiencies do you think lead to the tendency of dereliction of duty, lead to the tendency of dereliction of duty among public officials, First question. Second is, highlight the ethical issues involved in the above case. Third question is, what measures other than legal, means you have to mention not legal measures but measures which are not of legal nature. Measures other than legal can you suggest? Can you suggest to check the problem of dereliction of duty? To check the problem of dereliction of duty. This is the third question. And the last question, fourth question is, how far can e-governance address this problem? How far can e-governance address this problem? Means the problem of dereliction of duty. If you introduce e-governance techniques and principles, so how far it can address this problem? And you have to answer these 4 questions in 250 words. this case study answer should be in 250 words. Now let us see how to introduce, how to start writing answer for this case study. So first of all, any answer should have introduction. This is the standard format. You should have the introduction, then you have the main body of the answer, or there you address the question, and then you have the conclusion. So there is a golden rule for writing introduction and writing conclusion, or having a structure of the answer. So always keep that in mind. I hope that you have noted all these 4 questions, and I am erasing the last 3 to have the answer of the first question. So let us now start writing the answer. How to actually write this answer. First of all, we need to write the introduction, okay? Before coming to introduction, I will like to have a brief discussion on the structure of the answer. For any answer, or you write any essay, for any answer or essay, there is a golden rule. What is this golden rule? For answer writing or essay, there is a golden rule. Golden rule is that you divide it into 3 parts. Introduction part, then you have the main body of the answer, then you have conclusion of the answer or the essay. And the word you assign to introduction and conclusion as well as the main body, it is distributed like this. For introduction, you should allot 10% of the total word limit. Likewise, for conclusion, it should not be more than 10% of the total word limit, and the remaining should be the main body, means remaining 80% should the main body. So it applies to all answers and all type of essays. Your introduction should not be more than 10% of the total word limit. Your conclusion should be within 10% of the word limit, and the remaining part, 80%, should be the main body of the answer. And also keep this thing in mind that your introduction and conclusion are not something separate from the answer. They are very well part of the answer, and they also must directly address the question. You cannot write anything general in introduction and conclusion, and you must not treat them as something separate from the answer. Main body of the answer is not only the answer. Your introduction and conclusion as well are very part of the answer. So this is the golden scheme, and you should structure your answer based upon this scheme. This is my suggestion, and this should be of the prescribed word limit. As this is my first class, so I considered it important to provide you the frame of the answer structure, in how many words you need to frame your answer. And always keep this thing in mind that adhering to the word limit is very essential for 2 things. First thing is that you will have adequate time to attempt another questions, and second thing is that you will not be penalized for writing beyond word limit, because if you write more number of questions beyond word limit, so in UPSC examination also there is provision for deducting penalty marks. So for 2 reasons you must not write beyond word limit. It should be very clear. Now we understood this scheme, and this is very important, you always keep in mind. As this question is of 250 marks, so how much words introduction should be? 25 marks. 250 words. So introduction should be not more than 25-30 words. So how we should write the introduction? See, there are multiple ways to write introduction for any answer. In this particular case study, how can we introduce? We can introduce in 3 ways. First way to introduce it, highlight the major ethical issues. Highlight the major ethical issues involved in the case study, major ethical issues or stakeholders. Second thing is, you can write statistics or data related to the major concern highlighted in the case study. Second thing is, if you recall any statistics or data which is related to the concern raised in the case study, you can write that also as a part of introduction. Third thing is, if there is any international agreement, if there is any national commitment, so you can put that in the introduction in the case study, that such commitment is being violated or such global understanding has been achieved, and this case study and the situation herein It is challenging such understanding. So if any national or international commitment or understanding, national, international commitment you are able to recall, okay, national, international, if you are able to recall any such commitment, you can introduce through 3 ways. I will tell you. In this particular case study, the major ethical issue is dereliction of duty. Means, what do you mean by dereliction of duty? Questions are also based upon dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty means it is an ethical aspect. It means that if somebody is failing to fulfill his or her job willingly or negligently, intentionally or unintentionally, if you are not doing your job, then you are doing dereliction of duty. So, if you want to define it in a sentence, dereliction of duty is failure to do one's job intentionally or unintentionally. It is as much simple. Okay? So, here you can define dereliction of duty in the introduction, and from that you can introduce. Okay? Major ethical issue is, in this case, not non-fulfillment of duty by public officials, due to which future accidents can occur. So, dereliction of duty you can define in the introduction. That is the first way. That is the first way. Define dereliction of duty. Define dereliction of duty. What is the second way? Do we have any statistics or data related to this? Be careful that this case study is focusing on infrastructure safety, particularly on road safety. So do we have any data related to road accidents in India? Road accidents, according to NCRB, caused 1.55, means 1,55,000 deaths in 2021. In 2020, it was 1,32,000 deaths due to road accidents. So we can put that in the introduction to highlight the importance of the issue, or to highlight that what scale of devastation or tragedy such kind of dereliction of duty by public officials are causing. Okay? Or you can mix these 3 approaches also. So this is the second approach, that you can put data on road accidents to highlight the importance of road safety. Data on road accidents. That is the second way. And the third way is, do we have any international declaration or agreement on road safety? Do we have? You must be mindful of Brasilia Declaration. Brasilia Declaration in 2015, and it was followed by Stockholm Declaration in 2020, in which in both of these India also participated. So these were related to road safety. Brasilia Declaration was the second high-level global summit on road safety, and it was followed by Stockholm Declaration in 2020. After 5 years of Brasilia Declaration, it was the third global high-level summit. So we also know that there were 2 summits, international summits on road safety. So we can write any one of these 3 or a mix of these 3 in our introduction. How to write that? Let us now actually see. Okay. I think that you have noted it down. Kindly note it down. This is very important, because these are the real challenges candidates face while how to introduce case study, and what is a good introduction of case study. So let's see how we can write this. We can directly start with dereliction of duty, and we should define it. Dereliction of duty is intentional or unintentional, intentional or accidental, means unintentional, failure to do one's job. Failure to do one's job. Okay? In public service, such failure puts lives of citizens at grave risk. Puts life of citizens at grave risk. Now count the number of words. How many words I have written in the introduction? I have defined dereliction of duty, okay, because that is the major ethical theme which has appeared in the case study. And after that, I have related dereliction of duty to the consequences people have to face due to intentional or unintentional non-fulfillment of their duty by public servants. So let us count the number of words: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and it is exactly 24 words. 24 words. This is how you have to write an introduction to case study. 250 words, you have to only write 10% as introduction, less than 10% as conclusion. So what we did here, we defined dereliction of duty because it is a major ethical theme which is appearing in the case study. Now, as I told you, that there were 3 ways to introduce this case study, and we can make a mix of these options or choices to have our introduction. So let us do something different. Now we have introduced and we have additional data also. So now let us use our information. See, scoring marks in civil services exam, it is easy given that you know the art of answer writing. If you can apply your knowledge and information appropriately. Okay. So now here we plot a graph, and on the y-axis we write number of deaths due to road accident. Deaths in India due to road accidents, and here we write the year in 2020, in 2021, and instantly let us make a graph, a bar diagram. We know that according to NCRB in 2020 1.32 lakh road deaths due to road accident had occurred. In 2021, 1,55,000 death due to road accident had occurred. Now we have this data. At the bottom you can write according to NCRB, or you can simply put in bracket according to NCRB. So this is how you write introduction to case studies. Now here we have also defined the major ethical issue which is appearing as the major theme of the case study, and also put statistics to highlight the importance of safety of public infrastructure projects. Okay, you could have also written in the introduction recent incidents like the bridge collapse in Morbi or the death of a prominent former chairperson of the Tata Group. Okay, so you can introduce in a number of ways. That is up to you, that is up to your style, that is up to what you know related to the case study and how you apply it. So the application is very important. Okay, now the introduction part is over. At the same time, you can also make reference to Brasilia Declaration and Stockholm Declaration with respect to road safety. Okay, so these choices are up to you. I'm not making you an absolute introduction to the case study and say that it is the best introduction. I have told you a number of options. Also, you can devise your own options also, how to introduce. But this is how it can be done. So let us now come to the question. I hope that you have noticed this down. Now coming to the question, what ethical deficiencies do you think is creating the tendency of dereliction of duty among public officials? So ethical deficiency means ethical lackness. Ethical lackness or ethical deficiencies are the ethical inadequacies or ethical lackings which are absent, values or ethical conditions which must be present in a moral agent. In any moral agent, there should be some ethical merits, some ethical elements present. And what are such ethical elements absent which is creating the tendency of dereliction of duty in public servants in the given case? The question is asking this. So directly we prepare a small subheading as ethical deficiencies leading to dereliction of duty. Leading to dereliction of duty. Okay, you put underline and just you start writing using points. So don't we think that, and in the case study also it is mentioned, clearly mentioned, that corruption and inefficiency is stemming from lack of public service values. First of all, why such dereliction or abandonment of one's duty, non-fulfillment of one's duty is taking place? Because the public officials involved, they lack public service values. Okay, all of us must agree that such values are lacking in the public officials. That's why they are corrupt. That's why they are being inefficient, and that's why they are unconcerned about lives of people. They are not concerned about lives of people. Okay? So the first thing is lack of public service values. Lack of public service values. And here you can indicate also some of those values. For example, integrity, because corruption is involved. Integrity, honesty, okay, selflessness, and you must be cautious that all these values are, we have studied Nolan principles, 7 principles of public life. What are Nolan principles? Nolan principles were first brought forward by Committee of Standards in Public Life, which was established in United Kingdom under the chairmanship of Lord Nolan. In the year 1995, the committee came up with its first report. And these 7 principles of public life, which are expected from a public servant, okay, and the holders of public offices. So there were 7 principles delineated in the first report brought forward by the committee. And those public service values or principles are, we can also count it now, 7 principles: selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. These are the 7 public service values which are expected from a public servant. Now we see that such public service values are lacking in this case, and few of them we can mention, like integrity, honesty, selflessness. To add value to your answer, in bracket you can write Nolan principles 1995. Okay? So the examiner will be aware that you have studied the Nolan principles, and you are mentioning it as well as connecting it with the case study, that lack of such public service values is creating such moral problem which is mentioned in the case. Now the second deficiency. What is the second deficiency? Do you think that if public officials were so much compassionate about people, so much empathetic about citizens, they would have done such serious lapses at the first place? If you have empathy or compassion about somebody, so you must take care of all the aspects of their well-being. In this case, the public officials are unconcerned about well-being of people. It means that they don't have empathy or compassion about public in general. So that is an ethical lacking. That is an ethical deficiency. That is an ethical inadequacy. So the second inadequacy is lack of empathy and compassion. Lack of empathy and compassion for public in general. Public in general. If you are empathetic and compassionate towards general public, so you will first of all put their safety as priority rather than your own benefits. Now the third point is, the officials are issuing provisional completion certificates despite major safety works are not completed. And the organization later comes to know that some officials are involved in issuance of such certificates which is not following the policy procedures, the guidelines laid down in the policy, as well as it also violates the provision of the contract agreement. Hence, in this case, don't you think that there is a lack of accountability in the organization? Because if there is accountability, then it acts as a deterrent for the officials. Now there is no accountability within the organization as of now, so they are issuing provisional completion certificate without the major safety works being completed. So there is lack of accountability. So, and accountability, as we know that there are 2 types of accountability, vertical and horizontal accountability. Vertical and horizontal accountability is lacking. So it is another ethical deficiency. And what is vertical and horizontal accountability? Accountability in general, it is of 2 types, vertical accountability and horizontal accountability. Horizontal accountability means means and processes of ensuring accountability within the organization itself. Within the organization itself. If the organization itself is ensuring accountability, it has developed means and processes, then it is horizontal accountability. And outside organization, there are other stakeholders like public, media, watchdogs, you have third-party audit agencies. So accountability ensured by all these other parties is called vertical accountability. So you must be very clear. So in this case, as the officials are very openly issuing provisional completion certificate, it means that both vertical and horizontal accountability is somewhere missing. So it is another ethical deficiency which is leading to the tendency of dereliction of duty. Lack of deterrent means the public officials are fearless that they can very easily bypass the policy procedures and guidelines and violate the provisions. So the accountability aspect is lacking. Fourth thing, what is the fourth thing? Do you think that such ethical lacking is causing problem and it is also posing a threat to the safety of road users in future? Can we not spot that there is a poor work culture in the organization, inefficiency and unprofessional work culture in the organization, which is leading to such lack of accountability, which is leading to such poor quality work because the officials are inefficient, because the organization has an unprofessional work culture. So this is another ethical deficiency, poor organizational work culture, poor organizational work culture and inefficient operations. Inefficient operations. Here one important point has to be taken into notice. Important point is that in the year 2000, United Nations came forward with a global compact, UN Global Compact. It brought together many firms and businesses to ensure the concept of corporate sustainability and corporate good governance. So you can here mention that violation, or you can write against UN Global Compact principles. UN Global Compact, which was officially launched in 2000, principles. Here you are bringing international perspective also to your answer and it will add much value. In the year 2000, United Nations launched a global compact under which businesses themselves committed to adhere to good governance practices and ensure corporate sustainability in their operations. So don't you think that it goes against such principles? So it is also an ethical lacking, an ethical deficiency. So this is the fourth part. Now we also have to adhere the word limit as well as we can go on writing the ethical deficiencies. But these were the major things. And now let us come to the next part of the question. I hope that this aspect is clear. What is ethical deficiency and due to absence of what tendency of dereliction or abandonment of duty is taking place. Okay, fine. Now coming to the next question. The next question is a simpler one. Highlight the major ethical issues. So we write ethical issues. What are the ethical issues involved? First of all, as we had seen that there is a direct threat to life of people due to poor quality infrastructure project. Let us understand what is an ethical issue. Ethical issue emerges in a situation where any ethical standard, any ethical principle, any value is under threat. If any ethical value is under threat, it is a situation of crisis of ethical issue. It is a matter of ethical issue. Very simply stating, if any ethical standard is being challenged or threatened, it is an ethical issue. For example, ethical issues are being asked. So first thing is that there is a threat to public life. First ethical issue is that there is a threat to public life and safety. Because right to life, or you can also mention threat to right to life. What is the second ethical issue? Very clearly stated in the case study itself. Corruption and malfeasance by the public officials. Corruption and malfeasance by public officials. A public official is expected to have integrity and honesty in his or her conduct. But here we see that due to corruption and malfeasance, malfeasance means wrongful conduct. You can also use some ethical terms in your answer so that it will add weightage to your answer writing. So corruption and malfeasance by public officials, as it is mentioned in the case study, which is leading to poor quality road construction. And the third thing is, which is very clearly stated in the case study itself, disregard for policy guidelines and violation of contract, disregard for project guidelines, disregard for project guidelines and violation of contract agreement, violation of contract agreement. The public official is expected to follow the project guidelines. Here you can also see that there is violation of rule of law, because contract agreements are legal documents, and if a public servant is not adhering to the contract agreement, means he or she is violating rule of law. So that is the third ethical issue. The fourth and important ethical issue is the reputation of the company is under threat, because due to dereliction of duty or non-fulfillment of duty by public servants, the outcome is of poor quality. It can cause some serious accident in the future. So it will bring a bad name or tarnish the reputation of the company which has completed the infrastructure project. So another ethical issue is maligned reputation of company, in case of future accidents. That is also an ethical issue. And if you can see, if any more ethical issue is involved, there is also inappropriate utilization of public resources. Using the same public resource, we could have better quality of infrastructure project, which in this case, it is not happened. It has not happened. So, inappropriate utilization of public resources. And as we have seen that corruption and malfeasance by public officials, so corruption, we know that there is a international and only one legally binding international treaty on corruption. Can any of you can tell? Okay, Rajguru, we won't remove the video from our YouTube channel. Actually, the previous video was removed because it was incomplete due to power disruption, and this video will be complete, so it will not be removed. Now, so is there any international legally binding treaty on corruption? We all know that there is a UN Convention Against Corruption which was enforced in the year 2005. So you can write also here in bracket, violates UN Convention Against Corruption, and why I am mentioning this convention? Because India is also a party. India has also ratified UN Convention Against Corruption. And now the public officials, if they themselves are involved in corruption, so it goes against the UN legally binding international agreement. So these were the ethical issues. Now let us come to the third question. I hope that you people have mentioned it down. This is how you need to proceed in a case study. You also need to bring the international perspective, global perspective, and build a good answer. The third question is, what are suggestions other than legal measures you can give? Suggestions other than legal measures to prevent dereliction of duty. You have two ways. Either you can make strict laws, okay? Those laws can act as a deterrent for public officials who are habitual of committing dereliction of duty. But the question is asking that you have to provide suggestions other than legal measures, means non-legal measures. First thing is that you sensitize officials regarding their role in nation building. These public infrastructure projects, they are of utmost importance for nation building. They benefit the last person of the society. So you need to sensitize the public officials about their role in nation building. It is not an ordinary role or responsibility they are imparting. It is a role of nation building. So the first thing is sensitization of officials, regarding their role in nation building and bettering the lives of others. through their duty, public servants are improving lives of others, and they must understand that by their dereliction, lives of citizens becomes difficult. So this is the first thing, non-legal measure which you can take. Second thing is that senior officials in the organization must act as a role model of excellence. Okay? Senior officials should act as role model of excellence. It is an important leadership quality, and leadership is also mentioned as one of the 7 Nolan principles. So the senior officials of the organization must lead by example. They must have excellent performance record. They must have excellent performance capabilities, which can then filter down to the rank and file of the organization, and other officials will also imitate and try to achieve the performance of their seniors. This is the second non-legal measures which we can suggest. The third thing is training and capacity building. Training and capacity building of organizations and other stakeholders, to ensure accountability. This is also another non-legal measure, that if you enhance and strengthen the capacity of organizations so that they can ensure accountability in a better manner, that is also a non-legal measure to prevent dereliction of duty, because accountability will act as a deterrent. Accountability will stop public officials from missing or non-completing or failing to perform their duty. So it is also an important aspect. Fourth thing is that if you associate performance of officials to their career progression, in that case public officials won't do such thing willingly or unwillingly. So merit-based career progression, linking performance with promotion and other prospects. So it is also a non-legal measure to prevent dereliction of duty in a positive manner. You are rewarding and giving incentive to such public officials in terms of career progression and career prospects, so that they do their work in a proper manner. Now let us come to the fourth question. I hope that you are also simultaneously writing down the points. Fourth question is, how far can e-governance address this problem? Okay, so we make a subheading, write it as addressing this problem through e-governance. Addressing this problem through e-governance. Addressing this problem through e-governance. How far can e-governance address the problem of dereliction of duty among public officials? So the first thing is that if you provide e-governance facilities and mechanisms in public infrastructure projects, in government processes, in tendering, in monitoring, and in tracking the daily status of projects, then it will act as an accountability check on public officials. So the first thing is ease of access to project guidelines and procedures. First thing is ease of access to project guidelines and procedures to officials, to public officials and general public. By e-governance, you can put forward the project guidelines as well as other procedures related to construction of infrastructure project. Sometimes, as we see, that dereliction of duty can be done unintentionally also, unwillingly also, ignorantly also. a public official may not be aware about the policy guidelines, though it is a major lacuna, but human error can be considered, and public officials cannot be aware of the policy guidelines. So through e-governance, there will be ease of access to project guidelines as well as provisions, which is equally available to officials and citizens. So it will be helpful in following the project guidelines, and it will prevent dereliction of duty, because there will be a pressure of accountability from general public also. So this is the first thing how we can address this problem. Second thing is that due to lack of proper audit, due to lack of proper monitoring, such non-fulfillment of job or non-fulfillment of duty is done by public officials, because there is no monitoring or inadequate monitoring. So e-governance, what it does, it provides tools and techniques for monitoring and real-time tracking. Monitoring and real-time tracking. Monitoring and real-time tracking. So this is how you can, again, e-governance can help. Third thing is, this dereliction of duty is taking place because there is more level of human interface. If such levels of human interference can be, reduced, then such non-fulfillment of duty can be prevented. Okay? So the third thing is, through e-governance, digitalization of processes, digitalization of processes to minimize human interface. If you reduce human interface, so here you are eliminating any abandonment of duty by the human agent. Okay? So what does e-governance do? E-governance, it reduces or minimizes the human interface, and it digitalizes the entire process. So this is the fourth thing and third thing. And the fourth thing is that e-governance, it provides tools for online complaint registration and their resolution. So through online complaint resolution, there is a proper check on the actions of public officials on a daily basis. Online complaint resolution, online complaint registration and resolution. This is how e-governance can put a check on the tendency of dereliction of duty. This addresses the 4 parts of the question. Now you come to the conclusion part. As I told you, the conclusion should also be within 10% of the word limit. Okay? It should not also be more than 25-30 words. And if you will count the number of words we have put in the answer, it will be well within 250 words, because you have already made a frame before attempting the question, so you will be well within the word limit. Now, how can we conclude? So conclusion should be on an optimistic note. It should be suggestive. You should suggest some broader policy measures, some ethical actions, some ethical prescriptions which can help in removing the problem of dereliction of duty among public servants. So first of all, what we will do, through this entire discussion, we have realized that dereliction of duty brings immense cost and tragic consequences, to public life and property. Now, through e-governance, what we can do? Through e-governance, we can tackle the functional aspect, we can tackle the procedural aspect, but can we tackle the moral aspect? Through e-governance, can we tackle the moral aspect? E-governance can help in functional aspect of any project, in operational aspect of any project, but the moral problem is at the root of all these issues. So that moral problem need to be fundamentally addressed. So our conclusion should be, e-governance can tackle functional aspects of projects, but moral problems should be fundamentally addressed. Now you count the number of words in the conclusion. It is on a suggestive note, it is on an optimistic note, and if you count the number of words, I think it is around 30 words. Okay, so our answer is also within the word limit. We have followed the structure, okay, so which we had framed for ourselves for ease of writing, and in the conclusion we accepted that dereliction of duty, it brings immense cost to public as well as property, life of public and property. And as the question mentions, and the case study can also suggest e-governance aspect, so we can write e-governance can tackle or can address the functional aspect of any system, but it cannot fundamentally change the moral aspect of any system. So we need to bring such system, and we need to take such measures, such ethical action which can address the moral problems, and suggestions which we have already mentioned while writing the answer. So e-governance can tackle functional aspect of projects, but moral problems should be fundamentally dealt with only in such scenario. If you are tackling the moral problems, if you are providing moral solutions, then only you can put an end to the problems like the duty servant. So I hope that this session was helpful to you, how to write a case study answer, how to read a case study, how to understand it, how to write introduction, how to write answer of its different subparts, and finally conclude it. I hope you liked today's session, and from tomorrow onwards, from today onwards, this English medium AWIP program will be continue, and I request all of you to join it, and I hope that it will benefit you. Thank you so much, and good night.